like NBA basketball.
Shoot your shot. Hey, come on now, shoot your shot. Hey, come on, 1, 2, shoot your shot. Hey, come on now, shoot your shot. Shoot it, shoot it, shoot it, shoot it, shoot your shot.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Shoot Your Shot podcast. My name is Esfandiar Berahini, alongside my co-host Bradshaw Furlong, and we have a guest or guests. One is a former Raptors columnist, turned Toronto Raptors Twitter dude, turned just in general cool guy, Mr. Chris Walder.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I'm glad I finally turned into a cool guy. I was waiting for that day to come.
The other, that was funny. The other is one of the many wonderful hosts of the Dishes and Dimes podcast. If she is not the owner of Kyle Lowry over everything, she is at least the president. Imman, welcome, Imman.
Thank you for having me on.
Well, yeah, no, thank you for both you guys for coming on, man. I hope both you guys are safe, and, thank you for coming on the podcast. When I reached out to both of you, I kind of said, let's do a fake 2020 playoff prediction, but with everything that's happened in the past 24 hours, this might end up being the actual real thing. So we can kind of go through the process and everything, but I did want to ask you guys just your quick thoughts on all the news that we've heard over the past 24 hours with, Disney World being an option, Jared Dudley being in the news with his comments of, we're going to protect LeBron and AD, like that makes any sense. What do you guys think of everything we've heard in the past 24 hours?
Well, I mean, as a basketball fan, like all of us are, we're all dying to see the NBA kind of get back into the swing of things, and the playoffs are just around the corner before this pandemic really hit. So that part of me is eager to see basketball back out on the floor, especially playoff basketball. But at the same time, I'm a little bit leery. There's certain things that I personally wouldn't feel comfortable doing right now. Like without wearing a mask and being in large gatherings of people, just driving around where I live, there's a lot of people that are foregoing social distancing. I think they're just kind of over all of the rules and restrictions right now. I obviously trust the NBA to be a little more serious about it and be thorough with its testing and checking the players, because, all it took was one player to be, testing positive for COVID, and then the whole association shut down. So I'm kind of like torn between, wanting to see basketball and just wanting everyone to be safe and be with their families as well. I don't want them to be torn away from their children and their wives just to play a few basketball games.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Chris just said there. And I think for the longest time, I just thought it wouldn't happen. It just didn't seem feasible to make it happen. You're cutting them off from their family, which, okay, you can do that for a couple of months, but they're still going to need to eat. People are going to be coming into the compound. There's no way that you're cutting them off from society. And, I've had people mention me on Twitter, whatever, just arguing back and forth, being like, well, we're back at work, or this is opening up. And it's like, yeah, but you're not pressed up against a guy for 48 minutes. You're not sweating over another person. You're not breathing over another person. I think when you look at a sport like basketball, where people are constantly touching each other, it's a contact sport. You cannot sort of liken it to anything else that we're doing in our daily lives. And like Chris said, if we're not ready to fully integrate back into society and open everything up, I just think it's going to be really hard for the NBA to do it. But over the last 24 hours, I finally started to get optimistic about it. And I think it could be something that we'll see. I just don't know how the NBA will handle it.
Yeah, I agree. It's like a nervous energy you have over it, right? Like you're conflicted and you want it to come back. Obviously, the sports fan in you is like, man, I need sports of some sort. I need basketball to come back. But at the same time, the situation could get really ugly really quick. Like imagine if a coach catches it, right? Or a guy like Mike D'Antoni, who is 70 years old, like that would be really, really bad. There's so many repercussions to this. Which I don't know. I think we're still in the early stages. I saw Spencer Dinwiddie today say that they were thinking of July 15th as a date for the first games to start. And I know they're going to play until 70, so each team gets to 70 games, which, by the way, Bradshaw had to kind of explain to me. I thought I'm stupid, guys. I thought they were going to play a whole 70 games again. I'm like, that makes no sense. Why would they do 2 seasons?
Yeah, there's no way that's happening.
Yeah. So I had to be explained that no, they're going to go to 70, but that's like a whole unfair advantage for some teams. Like if you look at the standings, like a team like, let's say, New Orleans wouldn't be able to catch up to Memphis potentially, or, Portland, who's in a playoff race. They have some trouble with it. So like, that's a huge issue. That's a huge issue. Are you guys ready to get into our brackets?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do
I
this.
will say, I think Brian Windhorst made a point about why they were trying to get to 70, and he said this a couple of months ago. He kind of assumed that they would try to put that 70 mark, and I think it's because players have to play, or the teams have to play a certain amount of games in order for the revenue to be split a certain way, and so it really needed to hit that 70 point. That's why that was circled.
Okay, that makes more sense.
There is reason behind it, yeah.
That makes more sense. And also, like, if the NBA is trying to, like, I know over the year we've heard that they want to do different things. Like, let's say they wanted to do a midway break. They wanted to try reducing the amount of games. Like, this is an opportunity for them to try out those things if they want to, right? Like, they can kind of no holds barred, try whatever you want. But let's get to our playoff bracket. I will let you guys decide. You guys are the guests. So which side of the conference do you guys want to start on? East, West? You guys tell me.
Well, we're Toronto. I mean, we've got to start with the East here.
Yes. Okay. All right. I figured that would be the good answer there. Let's start with the first seed, Milwaukee versus Orlando. Let's get it out the way quick.
Let's just, I mean, if you want to get out of the way quick, 4-0. Orlando gives them some trouble with length. Doesn't really matter. 4-0.
Oh, I got to give some context to Chris and Imman. All right. So you see the two Bucks jerseys behind there. Bradshaw is a Toronto-born native, absolute, Canadian man. He reps the Leafs, everything like that. But he is also a Milwaukee Bucks fan. So take that as you will. Rip on him as much as you want. I no holds barred. Go for it.
Well, the transition will be easy for him when Giannis comes to Canada in 2021, right?
There you go.
There you go.
That's not happening, but it's okay.
Just paint it red. Like it's a simple transition. So it's fine. If you're going to root for a team and a player, it might as well be the MVP and the number one team in the entire league.
It has paid off after those lean years when I started with Brandon Jennings. It has paid off since.
Yeah, I mean,
That's what did it for you. It was Brandon Jennings.
It was literally that is the reason I'm a Milwaukee Bucks fan. It is Brandon Jennings.
He dropped 55 and you were sold.
I just loved him in high school, and I loved watching his highlights. I thought his story was really cool. So I was like, all right, I'm tired of watching the Raptors lose all their players. So let me cheer for an even smaller market team because I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah,
I'll be honest. I wanted the Raptors to draft Jennings ahead of DeMar, so I not far off.
The truth comes out.
That was a long time ago, you guys.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, now you guys know why I brought you guys here, because when we get to the Eastern Conference Finals, I'm gonna need some help because we're gonna have to all decide who wins.
Just team up on me.
Yeah, a team up scenario.
You brought all these people in to gang up on me. All right, I see.
When the Raptors, Nick Nurse's big plan is to put OG Anunoby in a Kawhi Leonard jersey to freak him out, and the Raptors cruise to a sweep. But we'll get to that point.
Get him the braids. Okay, let's go. Milwaukee and Orlando. Who are you guys picking for this? What's the rundown for this? I'm gonna go ahead and just say this is gonna be a clean sweep, 4-0. But any outliers for you guys?
Bucks in 4 unless DJ Augustin hits a game winner.
Yeah, I was about to say, you just got to keep your eyes on DJ Augustin in game 1.
That sneaky little dude.
Bucks in 4.
Bucks in 4. Okay, yeah, you're right. No, you're right. And then DJ Augustin. I thank you for reminding me about that. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. If like Middleton and Lopez have a defensive breakdown at the last second, there you go. That's what needs to cause DJ Augustin 3.
All right, so Milwaukee moves on to the second round, as probably obvious that is. Then the 4-5 matchup is Miami versus Indiana. Anybody want to take their picks on that one first? Up to you guys. It's definitely a more interesting matchup than Milwaukee and Orlando.
I think that's one of those first-round matchups that's probably going to end up going the distance. I mean, Indiana has a lot of weapons, but I trust Miami's a little bit more. I also trust their coaching a little bit more. Eric Spoelstra, championship pedigree, and Jimmy Butler, who just recently gave the Toronto Raptors a lot of trouble in the postseason. But again, it's one of those. It's kind of like a flip a coin kind of series. I could see Indiana taking it. I could see Miami going with it, but I just trust Miami's experience and them being in these pressure type situations just a tad bit more than Indiana's. But again, it wouldn't shock me either way.
Yeah, that's fair.
It was interesting when I was going through the matchup. The first and the only two matchups they've had, Brogdon and obviously Oladipo, but Brogdon didn't play in those first two games either. Then obviously for Miami, they didn't have all the new acquisitions with Iguodala, Solomon Hill, and Jay Crowder. So it's kind of like you can't really base it off of what they've done in the regular season because neither team has been at full strength for either of those matchups. That would have been something interesting if we had played out the rest of the regular season, how that would have gone. But I think I have to agree with Chris. I would go probably could see it going the distance, but I'd probably go with Miami just based on I just like the talent on that team and the coaching a little bit more.
I don't think it goes the distance. I kind of think Miami – I like what Miami has more than I like what the Pacers have. I mean, they're a good defensive team. I just don't know that they have enough offensive power unless Oladipo somehow gets that same burst back that he had pre-injury, and we just haven't been able to see that from him. I mean, as Raptor fans, we know what Brogdon can do in the playoffs, but I still I trust what Miami has. Like Chris said, Jimmy Butler. I'm a big Jimmy Butler fan. I think it goes 6 just because I think that Miami is going to have one dud in there, but I think if Miami played up to potential, that could be a 5-game series.
Yeah.
I think it goes 6 because Miami's just going to have one game where they just can't score.
Yeah. I agree with that. I'm more on your side here, Imman. I think, like, if you look back at how the Pacers were when Oladipo came back, they really struggled. Like, they lost like 6 or 7 in a row. They just didn't mesh really well. And I don't know if Brogdon and Oladipo, like, figuring out how they're going to work together was the issue. But if that carries on through whenever we get the playoffs, then that's going to be an issue. And like you said, realistically, Miami's probably going to have a dud, so I'm going to go 5 or 6 as well. So, yeah, I like that. All right, so we got Milwaukee-Miami as a matchup for the second round. We'll get to that in a bit. But let's talk about the other side, Boston-Philly. All right, that's a fun matchup. I think that's peak NBA Twitter type matchup. Everybody is giving their opinion on it type of thing. What's your picks for this one?
Ladies first.
Yeah, Imman, go for it.
So this is a weird one because anything can happen, and I'd be like, okay. Like, I think the Sixers, and I said this and people laugh at me, terrify me still, and I think it's just because of their size. And Boston is a team that doesn't have a lot of size, and you can really kind of bully them that way. I think, the Sixers are going to absolutely destroy them on the glass. But at the same time, I just think Boston is a better team from what they've shown. Philly is kind of the Boston of last year in a lot of ways, in just how inept they've proven to be. So I think based on everything that Philadelphia has shown us in the regular season, I'm going to take Boston to win that in 6. But it would not surprise me if Philadelphia won that series because I do think that they have a lot of advantages just in terms of size against a team like the Celtics. But Boston in 6. That's my pick.
Boston in 6?
Yeah, I agree with those sentiments as well. I mean, Philadelphia is kind of like, don't let their seed fool you. Like, they're that one team that even as a 6th seed, you wouldn't be the least bit surprised if they made it to the NBA Finals just because when their top guys are firing on all cylinders, like, they can pretty much go up against anybody and give them a world of hurt. But, Boston is probably going to get exploited in the middle, by a guy like Joel Embiid, unless he decides to live on the perimeter again or he gets like the stomach flu like he did against Toronto. Like, there's usually some sort of excuse there. But after watching him like weep openly after losing against Toronto, I would expect a little bit more this time around. Especially like Boston could end up just destroying them unless he gets his act together. And that's why, like, if we're projecting after like a hiatus such as this, you give Philadelphia a ton of time off to kind of wake up and you put them against a team like Boston, I think Philly could take it. But like Imman said, I just kind of trust Boston's weapons a little bit more. I think the playoffs are going to be, not that the regular season wasn't a sign of it, but it's kind of like Jason Tatum's coming out party, really elevating himself into like the top 10 category in the association. And I also just kind of selfishly want Boston and Toronto to meet in the playoffs just because the two Twitter fan bases have been jawing at each other for years, but they've never actually matched up to kind of settle the score. So I'm going to give Boston the edge in 6 games over the Sixers.
I'm sure Philly fans, by the way, definitely want the opposite because they want that Toronto rematch.
Well, they had their chance and they blew it.
Joel WebMD is the best nickname I've ever heard fans give. So shout out to Raptor fans. Whoever came up with that was genius.
Yeah, that's funny. Brad, who's your pick for this one?
I do think that the Sixers are a really bad matchup for the Celtics, and I think that's like one of the teams that could really. That was one of the teams that they could match up really well against in the first round. I just don't know if I trust them to win a road game.
Yeah,
I trust them just to win one road game. They can win all three of their home games, but they need to win that one road game. I don't know if I trust them to do that. So I'll probably go. I think I'm going to have this one go the distance as well. I'll probably go Celtics in 7, and home team wins every game.
Yeah,
I could definitely see that.
Yeah, I think Celtics in 7. I think the Jason Tatum coming out party is kind of an interesting theme that's going to run throughout the playoffs. Like the storyline will be even against the Raptors. Now I just hinted at who I'm going to pick, but like even against the Raptors, it's going to be, is Jason Tatum going to take over? Is Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum going to be the duo that takes them over the hump? I think even if you look outside of road records and everything like that, the supporting cast for Tatum and Brown is better than the Sixers supporting cast, in my opinion, because Horford has struggled. Tobias Harris is, inconsistent. We haven't seen him do well in the playoffs. And outside of that, they really don't have anybody else they can rely on. So that's why I say Celtics in 7 too. So I think, are we all in agreement so far? I think we are, right? Yeah. Okay. Toronto, Brooklyn. This is a fun one. Let's just get it going quick. Okay. KD and Kyrie are not playing. That is official.
No. Not.
That is official. It's not happening. If they were, it would be a completely different story. I feel like this could go 7, and we might. KD, you never know. But what do you guys think? What's the matchup here, Imman? If you want to go first for this one as well.
Yeah. So I don't think that KD or Kyrie are going to be playing in a Raptors Nets series. Sorry, I don't think KD or Kyrie are going to be playing in a Raptors Nets series. So basically, I think that the Raptors take it. I don't trust the Raptors to sweep anybody or anything ever. So it's going to be 5 games. But I had a lot of people mention KD, and I, for a second, was like, oh my God, what if he came back against a team that like knocked him out? But if you think about it, he got hurt because he rushed back to play in the playoffs, and it just didn't make sense. I don't think this sort of makeshift playoffs end of the season thing is the perfect place to put KD right now, especially just giving him a couple of games and then ramping up to the playoffs just feels like a recipe for disaster. He's over 30 at this point. He's had major injuries. I don't think he's going to be playing, and for that reason, it's Raptors in 5.
Nice. By the way, are they losing game 1? Is that the one?
That's the one. They're losing game 1.
The one that airs on YTV in Canada.
of the Nets.
This man said YTV on Canada.
It's what happened. Someone made a funny joke during last year's playoffs. It's like something along the lines of the Toronto Raptors would be horrible curlers because they never sweep. And that kind of stuck with me.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So I like that one, but it's true. I wouldn't pick the Raptors to sweep. I would take them in 5 games against a Durantless and Kyrie Irvingless Brooklyn Nets team. Obviously, if those 2 guys were in the lineup, we could be talking about a potential upset, and that's more of like a testament to Kyrie and Kevin Durant than anything, just because of how skilled they are and their ability to put up points in a hurry.
I will say you're giving Kyrie too much credit there. I think he can be playing in the series, and I'd still pick the Raptors in 5. Well, it's about KD.
He's such a weapon. Like, he can go off for 40 or 50 any given night, and there's nothing that a sound defensive team like the Toronto Raptors could do. When he's on, he's on. But we all know Kyrie's ability to kind of like destroy team chemistry. And Brooklyn Nets
he can get 40, but will his team win that game?
Yeah, that's very fair. And Brooklyn almost has looked like a much better, well-oiled machine this season without Kyrie Irving in the lineup. So maybe Toronto's chances, not like that they need that kind of a boost in the playoffs. I'd still pick them regardless. But to have Kyrie in the lineup, maybe it would deter the other players on the Nets. Maybe you wouldn't see some big outbursts from a guy like Karis LeVert, or maybe Jarrett Allen wouldn't be as motivated, if they have DeAndre Jordan in the lineup for some reason. But the Nets, without just assuming that Kyrie and Durant aren't around, the Nets are very feisty. They're a very feisty bunch. I would give them game 3 in Brooklyn, but no more than that. The Raptors in 5.
Nice. So wait, so you're giving game 1 to the Raps?
Look, that streak has to end sooner or later. This is the year. This is the year.
Man, I'll agree with that. I think I'll go 4-1. The reason being, like all the reasons you guys said, I do think Spencer Dinwiddie will be one of the bigger factors in that series, just because I think he could probably steal like one game all by himself. I also remember LeVert. Do you guys remember the game where, I mean,
He went against the Celtics?
No, against the Raps, where he pretty much.
Oh, well, they were talking about the game against the Celtics, where he just went bananas right in the fourth quarter in overtime.
Well, I guess he.
Oh yeah, I remember that game as well.
Yeah.
He knows how to do it against multiple teams, though.
He broke the Raptors' longest winning streak, wasn't it? Right before the All-Star break, it was Karis LeVert spoiling everything. When I say the Raptors are winning in 5, like I don't think it's going to be an easy series. It's not going to be like a 5-game series that is something light. I think the games will go to the wire. I think we'll be nervous watching it the entire time, but I just trust the Raptors to come out in the end in close games.
Yeah. Just the defense, I think, puts us over the top, in my opinion. So I go for one.
And something has to be said for the fact that, the Raptors are the reigning champions. And Brooklyn, with their backs against the wall, no one necessarily picking them. They're just like, you know what, let's throw everything against the wall and see what sticks. We have nothing to lose at this point. So I think it'll be a closer series than people imagine, probably on the scoreboard. But at the end, again, you just like Toronto's championship pedigree and them to just kind of dispose of Brooklyn easily.
I guess you can tell I'm the one non-Raptors fan too, because I'm picking them to sweep the series.
Oh, really?
I just like the games might be close, but I think I can't see them losing a game in that series.
Okay.
All right.
I appreciate you.
That is someone who has not had their heart broken year in and year out.
You haven't been around long enough.
You weren't there for the Brooklyn series, man. You just.
I was. I did hear the Raptors in that series. The Bucks weren't playing them in that series. I don't think they made the playoffs that year, did they?
24.
I can't remember.
Was that the year that the Bucks won like 15 games? I think
it might have been.
That might have been that.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yikes. Okay. Okay. So we got Toronto going 4-1. That's the slate. Let's move to the West. We'll come back to the East. Okay. Lakers versus Memphis, the 1 versus the 8 seed. I might be in the minority here, but I think it'll be closer than we actually make it seem. I think Memphis might take a game or 2. Do you guys disagree? I know. It might be a little bit of a hot take. I just think...
I don't know about 2, but maybe 1. I could see them maybe taking 1 game. Like if Ja Morant and the boys are really excited to be back in Memphis in game 3, I could see them like squeaking that one out. But I could see like the other 4 games, the Lakers killing them. Okay. Like it's like LeBron's like motivated to get just get out of the first round. Let's get this over with.
I just remember Memphis destroyed them one time in the regular season. I know it's regular season, but like they like destroyed them.
As Raptor fans talking about a LeBron James regular season game, I mean, we should know better. We should know that he does not care about that. I don't think I don't really give Memphis they can take a game, sure. I don't think it takes much to take a game. The Magic took that off of the Raps in the championship season. I think, sometimes if you look at a team that's sort of happy to be there and, just got in and is young and, just proved everybody wrong, they can upset a vet sort of team for a game, but that's not what the Lakers are. The Lakers have LeBron James, but Anthony Davis doesn't have much playoff success. So he's also in that sort of has a lot to prove. And you look at that team, they've got vets who have a lot to prove, and they've got young guys who, are sort of in this. The Lakers are such a weird team, but I just don't think that they're the vet team that you look at when you see this 8 seed who's spunky and young and happy to be there that can like surprise them for a game or 2. I just don't think the Lakers are that because they have so much to prove. This is their first year making the playoffs. This is brand new to them, just like it is to the Grizzlies.
That's fair. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Memphis is just too young for a moment like this. Like, this is going to be valuable experience for them in the years ahead. I love kind of like that Triple J conglomerate they got going on with Ja Morant, Jonas Valanciunas, and Jaren Jackson Jr. I think, you give those guys a few more seasons of kind of just being together, establishing, a really good chemistry, and then maybe a few years down the road they can win a series or 2. But I just think the Lakers are so kind of laser focused right now on winning the championship. This is such an important year for that franchise. LeBron James is not getting any younger. He's a freak athlete. He's a machine. But the last thing you want to do is be wasting time against a team like Memphis when you can just, that you can just get dispose of them early, and you foresee the matchups you have coming later on in the playoffs, especially, a potential matchup with the Clippers. I don't think they're going to waste any time with Memphis. I think the Lakers, double-digit victories across the board, they sweep Memphis.
I will say, what do you guys think about the idea of, because like in 1999, the lockout season, the idea was that, hey, the younger teams will benefit a lot more from this because you have to play 50 games in such a short amount of time. Older guys will get tired out quicker, right? And that's why you saw the Knicks made it to the finals, the Spurs with Duncan, they made it to the finals and they won. Is there going to be a factor like this, or do you think it's going to be the opposite where you get 3 months of rest right now? And, even for the Raptors, they get to rest all of their old guys. Like, Imman, you had a tweet earlier today where it's like, this could help the Raptors realistically, right? What side of the fence are you guys on? Do you think this is good for the older teams or bad for the older teams?
I think it depends. I was talking to Giancarlo on Twitter, who had a good point. He said, what about rest? Because sometimes you get too much rest if you're older. And I think for a team like the Raptors, I think the Raptors are unique in that it will help because they have the continuity. Mm-hmm. They don't need those extra games. They've played a lot of minutes with each other, if you consider the playoffs and then all of last season. And we've seen that Kyle Lowry benefits from rest. We've seen that Serge Ibaka benefits from rest. We've seen that Marc Gasol benefits from rest. And I think that that's unique to the Raptors. I think other teams, it's different. For the Lakers, they probably don't benefit from this because they probably still need a little bit more time to gel. And I'm sure LeBron would like to get some sort of games under his legs because he always kind of needs a little bit of that before he hits his stride. So I think it depends on the type of player and team you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, we're entering uncharted waters right now with this pandemic and the effect that it's had not only on the NBA, but in sports in general. You think about rust and players being off for several months. We don't know what they've been doing, if they've been shooting around at their homes, like if they've been, working out, keeping their bodies in shape. We just don't know at this point. And you can't even undervalue the effect of what it takes to have games in front of a hometown crowd. Like, this is a reason why, teams fight so hard during the regular season, is so that they can get these home court advantages. But you're not going to see that if the season does return, if they have these games in front of a neutral crowd in Disney World or wherever they decide to do this. So it's kind of hard for me to kind of chime in right now because this is something that we've never seen before. Hopefully, like what Imman was mentioning with the Toronto Raptors, obviously they have a few more years under their belt with their core guys. But, when you're kind of fast forwarding your way through the end of the regular season and in the playoffs, I think everyone is kind of on neutral ground at that point. I don't think anyone necessarily has an advantage, whether it's guys with veterans, young guys whose legs are, a lot fresher. It remains to be seen at that point.
Yeah. I mean, the whole no fans idea is going to be really weird to see too. Like, imagine you're going to be able to hear the squeaking of the court, like to Kyle Lowry swearing, like you're going to hear all of it, right? It's going to be a weird experience, not only for us as fans, but as the players play it as well. Like, it's going to be new territory, like you said, Chris. Okay, let's move to the 4-5 matchup: Utah versus OKC. This is a fun one. This is fun, but I'll remind you guys this: no Bojan Bogdanovic for Utah. I'm assuming Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell are going to be okay, but no Bojan for them. So that's a close one, in my opinion.
Can we just say off the top that it's kind of amazing how this season has played out for the Oklahoma City Thunder?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
A team that was written off for dead after that trade to bring in a guy like Chris Paul, and the way he's adapted and just kind of embraced the challenge of leading these young guys and elevate
of the Chris Paul with like 0.0002% chance of making playoffs type of thing on opening night. Like that's crazy, man. Like. Mm-hmm.
That's a testament to his greatness. Like, future Hall of Famer, one of the top 5 point guards, in my opinion, in NBA history. What he's done with this Thunder team is just a testament to his greatness. As far as my prediction for this series, I actually would lean towards the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think losing a guy like Bogdanovic is going to hurt them offensively because there are stretches where, like, their backcourt especially, like, you don't have the most consistent shooting from Mike Conley, from a Jordan Clarkson off the bench. Even Donovan Mitchell can go cold for stretches. And you put together this like 3-headed monster of like Chris Paul and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the backcourt. You have Dennis Schroeder backing them up, and they've been so efficient throughout the regular season. I give them the edge over Utah. As strong defensively as Utah is, you got the big man in the middle, the Stifle Tower. But Oklahoma City, I'm going to take them with what I would call kind of a minor upset.
Okay. I like it. I like the pick, Chris. I like it.
I think I'd probably go OKC as well, and for a lot of the similar reasons, mostly because Bojan's not there. And I do like the group that they have in OKC. You mentioned Schroeder and Chris Paul and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, Steven Adams. Like, they all just mesh really well together. It's a team that plays. They all seem to really like each other. They have a great chemistry going on. And it just seems like this is something that's kind of meant to happen for them. You talked about how it's kind of like the season's all kind of broken right for them. I think that's just another thing that's going to break right for them is Utah's missing one of its best players. And I think that just it's going to do nothing but help them in that first round series against the Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I agree. I love that the Thunder kept Danilo Gallinari, mainly because it means he's not a Heat. But beyond that, no, I just really enjoy that Thunder team, and I think that they take that series as well.
Yeah, I'll go OKC.
I'm going 6,
which is crazy. You're going in 6?
I'm going in 6.
6-2, yeah.
I'm going to go 7, but just because I know it's going to be a tightly contested series. But the only reason I pick OKC, and I agree with all the points you guys are making, is that they've had a lot of clutch games this year. Like, I think Chris Paul leads the league in clutch minutes, and I think Shea is somewhere in that top 10 area as well. So, like, they know how to close out really close games, and because I think this is a close series, OKC is going to pull it out, probably in 7, though.
Yeah, they had one against the Raptors where they closed out. That was one of the most heartbreaking games of the season.
I hate that game so much.
I just thought about it right now. I completely blocked it out from memory until you.
Well, that was the one with the call, right? Was it? No, it wasn't a legal screen.
It was probably a charge. It was probably a block charge call, was it? I don't remember what it was. Oh, it was it about like inbounding? I don't remember. It's just gonna take me a minute to figure it out.
It all feels so long ago.
Yeah.
It does. Like, I was thinking about the win streak earlier today, and I was like, that feels like 18 years ago.
Yeah.
I forget what I did last week, and you guys are talking like foreign to me, like right now. I'm like, wow, this actually happened? Jeez.
I've been thinking about it all morning, and I'm like, what? Like, I just remember that Tristan Thompson is a Piston, and I was just like, what?
Wait, what?
Wait, what? I completely forgot about that. Did that happen?
Yeah, isn't he on the Pistons? He's on the Pistons. He got traded there.
I know Drummond got traded to the Cavs, but then
Drummond got traded to the Cavs, not just Thompson on the Pistons. See, that's how little I remember about any of this. It was one of the bigs going to one of the cities.
I know we don't like Tristan Thompson, but like that's cruel.
Oh, it was
we don't want to
Brandon
send him
Knight
to
going
Detroit.
back to the Pistons. I was thinking like someone I was laughing about going to the Pistons. I forgot. Oh, there we go.
Andre Drummond. See what this hiatus has done to all of our brains. It's all mush now.
If you guys want, we can go quickly through the next series, or we can take a quick break here and we'll come back.
It's completely up to you, my friend.
Cool. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. All right, welcome back, everybody. We are with Chris Walder and Imman. We're talking about the 2020 fake playoffs, or it might be real playoffs very, very soon. I just saw that it's July 15th is like the date that everybody's talking about on Twitter right now. So that might be the actual date we get games. I don't know if that's too soon. That's kind of scaring me a little bit, but yeah.
Everything feels too soon right now. It's a scary time. Like we don't. It's hard to trust everything at this point. And again, what happens if someone does test positive for COVID? Do they do what they did last time, and do they shut down the entire league? I'm waiting. I'm curious to see what Adam Silver has to say about all this. If that is a date that they are actually going with.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. He said he's going to talk on June 1st, so
okay,
that's another day to kind of look forward to.
Soon.
Yeah. We'll continue with the playoff bracket regardless. You guys, I'm pretty sure all of us picked OKC, which is surprising to me, honestly. I thought one of us would at least say Utah, but OKC taking it over.
I'm breaking my final prediction then.
Oh yeah, early in the season.
Beginning of the season, like before the season even started.
What'd you say? Utah-Milwaukee NBA Finals? That is the most boring NBA Finals potentially.
Except for me. Not for me. I would enjoy it. I want
Has the NBA ever put an NBA Finals game on NBA TV? Have they just stuck an NBA Finals game on there?
It would be befitting for a season like this where Adam Silver's like, we got to rush the league back, and then all of a sudden you get an NBA Finals like that, and he's like, God damn it.
Yeah, he was probably expecting like LA versus, I don't know, Miami or Toronto, and gets new stars. Oh my God. Okay, next series we got Denver versus Houston. Also a fun one. I feel like every year the West, at least in the first round, has really more entertaining matchups than the East. Just because like the bottom half of the East is nowhere near the top half of the East. But that's another story for another day. Like Denver, Houston. What are you guys picking? Who wants to go first? Imman, you want to go first again?
I'm just trying to, like, I just remembered that Houston completely changed the makeup of their team. Which, as soon as you said that, I was like, wait, Houston looked different, and it worked for like a week, and then it really didn't. Yeah. So I think that this is a bit of a toss-up. We haven't really seen Denver produce in the playoffs and really get to, I think they've maybe started with loftier expectations than has come out. I just think that Jokic and no big man on the other side is going to be a bit of an issue for the Rockets. I think that this series does go the distance, and I'm gonna pick the Nuggets. I'm gonna say Denver takes it in 7.
Okay, nice.
I'm going to go in the complete opposite direction here. I'm going to say Houston, and I'm going to pick them in 5.
Wow.
It's series like this that is the reason why they made that trade for Russell Westbrook. Like, they realized that, hey, what we were doing wasn't working. James Harden clearly needed another ball handler who isn't Chris Paul to kind of alleviate some of that scoring pressure. And you put Russell Westbrook in this kind of situation, Mr. Triple-Double. He's built for moments like this. Obviously, on Denver's point of view, if you give the ball to Nikola Jokic and you're looking at a small ball Rockets where your biggest, defender is like a, 6'6" PJ Tucker, your eyes are going to be wide open. And you're like, wow, I can do whatever the hell I want out here. I'm the facilitator anyway. I could take it down low. I could spot up from 15. I can do whatever the hell I want. It's just a matter of who's going to be like that second and third option consistently. We've spoken highly of like the backcourt, like Gary Harris and Jamal Murray, but in the playoffs, what have they necessarily accomplished? Against a tandem like Russell Westbrook and James Harden, where they can kind of dictate the pace. Have we seen both of them
on though? Can I? Have we seen a great James Harden and a great Russell Westbrook at the same time? Because it kind of seemed like in the season they took turns.
That's true too. Yeah.
I think they're certainly capable of having those nights in the playoffs, knowing that their respective reputations are on the line. Both the two of them know that they can't keep getting bounced early in a stacked Western Conference, and a team like Denver is kind of an ideal matchup for them outside of who the hell is going to stop Nikola Jokic. I think Houston is just going to go run and gun, embrace the fact that they are going small ball. Like I said, this is what they've been built. This is why they made that trade to get rid of Capella and just say, hey, we're going to go small. We're going to outrun these teams. We're going to put up a ton of points. We might not necessarily stop a lot of the other team from scoring a lot, but hey, if we win 135 to 134, that's still a victory at the end of the day. And I think Houston is going to have several of those moments from those two. And yeah, I don't think Denver can keep up, unfortunately. So Houston in 5.
I'm going to agree. I have Houston as well, and I think it's when we were talking about who could benefit most from this long layoff, the immediate first team that clicked for me was the Rockets. Because right at the end, right as the season was coming to a close, they looked exhausted. Like all their rotation of wing guys looked exhausted from having to do so much, whether it's covering big men or all the rotations and everything. They just looked exhausted. So I think this long layoff could help them more than anybody. And it's a battle between two teams that have been just incredibly inconsistent. And I think when you have that long layoff and it gives that rest for the Rockets, and you saw how good they were when they first started, I think that might just propel them a little bit. I think that might give them a slight edge between two teams that are really, really, really close. So I have the Rockets, but I have them in 7. I just think the talent on that team wins out, and I think the rest helps them a lot.
Yeah. I want to ask you guys something. Do we trust Jamal Murray?
That's not the thing.
No?
Not yet. I think he's extremely talented. And he's great offensively. Yeah. But what can you name one or two standout moments from him in really important games?
Not really. No.
I think he's capable of having them, but I'm in wait and see mode. That's why again you go with Russell Westbrook and James Harden, like two proven commodities over Jamal Murray and Gary Harris.
Yeah. I think that's what kind of has me split is if we get the Jamal Murray that people expect. They have this high expectation of Murray to become like a superstar level player, if we get that consistent Jamal Murray, because we've seen like flashes, but not necessarily a consistent output from him. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think like if he becomes a different factor in that series, then I'd pick Denver. But right now, I'm going to go Houston as well. Houston probably in 7. I think they'll do it in 7 as well. That Houston in 5 though, that's an interesting one, man.
That's yeah. You know what I think? What this matchup is? It's star power versus one guy and a team. Like the Nuggets have better guys 3 through 8 that you can at least sort of trust in a setting. They're kind of a more cohesive team, whereas the Rockets have Harden and Westbrook as their firepower. That's where they're generating the offense. And then can you trust Eric Gordon? Like he like I would say in years past, definitely, but this season, like I think there are certain I think that's what the difference between the Rockets and the Nuggets here, and star power in the playoffs tends to win out. So you guys are probably on the better side of history. I'm still sticking with the Nuggets in 7 though.
Okay, fair enough. That's I guess that's we finally got a split our playoff, right?
7 is not a confident split. If you say 7, you think it's a toss up. You're not betting on any of the teams.
Go big or go home. 5 games.
Okay, next matchup. Clippers versus Dallas. This is Doncic versus Kawhi. This is PG versus Porzingis, whichever way you want to put it. Who are you guys taking? I'll go out here and say I think it's going to be closer than everybody thinks. I think this has sleeper 7-game series built into it. That's just my opinion. It's crazy. I don't know if I'm going to say this. Okay, I think Dallas could win this series. I think Dallas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you're crazy.
Yeah, I know.
See that.
I'm crazy. I'm not saying it's like a for sure thing. I say out of all of the underdogs here, other than OKC, Dallas has probably the best chance to upset. But it's not a good chance. It's not a good chance to upset.
Is Kawhi Leonard on the Clippers?
He is on the Clippers.
Well, then there's my pick. he earned forever immunity from me.
Okay.
For what he did for my city in last year's playoffs. I can't pick against the guy, unfortunately. That's as analytical as I can get. Kawhi Leonard's on the Los Angeles Clippers. Okay, so in all seriousness, note, like the only downfall for the Clippers, like not just against Dallas, but throughout the entire postseason, is that Kawhi and Paul George haven't exactly played a ton during the regular season, and I seriously doubt they've gotten together during this pandemic and have been like practicing, off the court together. That's just not possible at this time. I'm a big Luka Doncic guy. I just think he's extremely fun to watch, and I think against a team like the Clippers, just to see what he can kind of muster up, him and Porzingis. And again, like Porzingis, like the Clippers are lacking in size that can keep up with Porzingis. He might be like one of the sleeper stars of this entire series, but I just think the Clippers have so many weapons, not just with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Like I think Landry Shamet can have big games for them. I think their bench, obviously Lou Williams, like multiple 6-mans of the year, like he's fantastic. Patrick Beverly, you put him on Doncic, he's just going to piss him off.
Sure.
I just think Dallas is maybe one piece away from like really putting themselves in like, hey, we're one of like the top tier teams in the Western Conference. But right now it's just kind of too much of an obstacle to overcome. I would pick the Clippers in 5.
Yeah, Clippers in 5 seems like where I would probably go as well. Just like what we talked about with Memphis, it seems like Dallas is kind of like maybe a step ahead of them, but still not quite ready to take that jump and like upset a team in the first round. They just seem like they're not quite there, ready for that moment yet. And the Clippers, like at one point I think they still finished the regular season like undefeated when they were fully healthy.
Yeah, but they had like I think they played like 5 games where they were fully.
Yeah, it was like something like something between like 5 to 10 games. But still, like even when they're fully healthy, that team, as you mentioned, Chris, is just ridiculous. And you didn't even bring up Montrezl Harrell, who is probably like for me is the 6th man of the year. So I think I don't think Dallas is ready to upset a team like the Clippers just yet. I'd probably have Clippers. I'll go Clippers in 6.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, 5-6 is kind of what I'm looking at for the Clippers as well, and I think 6 is just giving a lot of credit to the Mavs in the season that they've had. But they started off. I think the fact that they started off hot and trailed off bodes well for them because maybe this break kind of operates as an off season again for them. But I think I would lean to 5 for the Clippers, just off the strength that they have more firepower. They have Kawhi Leonard.
Okay. All right. I think I'm the only one that's going 7. I like it. I'm still picking the Clippers. I'm still definitely taking the Clippers 100%. But I just think Doncic is going to steal just 2 games just from flair alone, like just destroying the Clippers. But I don't know. Clippers defense is amazing too. I could be totally wrong.
You scared me there for a second, man. I was like, oh my God, is he actually going to pick Dallas to knock out Kawhi Leonard in the first round?
Him, where is he? He's somewhere in the background here. He would be frowning on me. I can't do it.
There's some like bitter Raptor fan like fanfic about Kawhi Leonard losing in the first round on the Clippers. It's out there. It's on Reddit. Look for it.
Oh my God.
Don't subject yourself to such poison.
Yes, yeah. Have you guys seen the Bleacher Report, the finale, the Game of Zones finale? Have you guys seen it yet? No? Oh, okay. Well, go watch it after. You guys will enjoy it because there's.
Is there at least a Raptors cameo in there, or are we still a forgotten?
We're still a forgotten team. Yeah,
that's okay.
There's like 3 Alex Caruso cameos before there's a Raptors cameo. So.
Well, you need the star power for these finales, Alex Caruso over the champions. Come on now.
I'm glad you brought that up. Literally, like LeBron is making a speech in it, and he says, "Yeah, the future GOATs," and it's like John Morant, Zion Williamson, and Alex Caruso, and you're just like, what is going on here? But
like literally as a GOAT, like he has GOAT-like features maybe, but I can't explain that one.
You got a point. We're on second round now. Do you guys want to go back to the East? We'll do Milwaukee.
Sure, let's keep it consistent.
All right, let's do it. So Milwaukee, Miami. This is a fun matchup. I might surprise you guys with a pick here. But, but I'll let you guys go first. Imman, do you want to go first?
Does a Bucks fan go first here? Brad, you want to?
Yeah, this is all you, Brad. All right.
I think I've debated between the Heat and the Raptors for which team in the East scares me the most, and it's purely because the Heat won the 2 games in the regular season against the Bucks. I would still probably lean towards the Raptors, a team the most scared. Anyways. I think the only reason that I'm getting spooked by the Heat is just like sometimes their shooters, like you saw in the most recent game, their shooters get incredibly, incredibly hot, and that's what sinks the Bucks. But I don't trust the Heat to do that over 4 games. So I have the Bucks winning this in 6. I just can't see the Bucks in this season losing in the second round to a team like the Heat. Heat are really good. Don't get me wrong. I love the Heat. I love Bam Adebayo. I love that whole team. I love Eric Spoelstra, but I can't. As bad of a matchup as the Heat could be with their shooters, I can't see them beating the Bucks over 4 games. So I have the Bucks in 6. And the prediction finally comes true. Brandon Jennings' prediction of Bucks in 6 against the Heat finally comes true.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, all right. Imman, Chris, you guys take your picks. Go for it.
Again, ladies first, because I'm still kind of pondering in my mind.
I don't think the Bucks, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think the Bucks have won a 6-game series since Brandon Jennings said Bucks in 6, which is why I don't think they're going to win it in 6. I just feel like he's cursed them forever. They're never winning in 6.
You're never allowed to win in 6.
You're never allowed to say that.
5 or 7. It's the only 2.
I think in the same way that I said the Heat's offense is just going to go dead for a game in the first round, and that's going to lose them 1. I think their shooters are just going to get incredibly hot for a game against the Bucks, and they're going to steal 1. I would pick the Bucks in 5.
Bucks in 5.
Only because they can't win in 6.
That's true.
Otherwise, I might have said 6, but Bucks in 5.
I want to pick Miami so bad right now.
I know.
I think they can do it. In the back of my mind, I think they can do it, but the Bucks record during the regular season, and Miami has more wings than a Wild Wing right now. Like they can just throw whoever the hell they want at Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the Raptors and Nick Nurse kind of gave all teams that are built like Miami the formula and the blueprint to slow down Giannis, kind of like meet him at half court and make him get through you to get to the rim. It was like the Kawhi Leonard factor. As soon as that happened, the entire series changed and Toronto swept them in 4 essentially. But Miami doesn't have a Kawhi Leonard-esque defender. Like they have, Jimmy Butler can defend, Bam Adebayo, getting a veteran defender like Andre Iguodala, and then like lesser known like Jay Crowder, Derrick Jones Jr. Like you have so many guys that you can at least just throw at Giannis and see what happens. And then you also have, like you guys said, the shooters. Like Miami's like rookies can just get hot at a moment's notice, but so can Milwaukee's. You know, it's not like Milwaukee's like slacking in the depth department right now behind the Greek Freak. So I'm saying this series is going 7. I want to say Miami, but I can't do it. I think the Bucks kind of narrowly eke it out, that home court advantage. Well, I say home court advantage. Home court advantage doesn't even matter at this point. It doesn't exist anymore. God, so that just threw that logic out the window. Okay,
I realized that after I said the Sixers Celtics series, the home team wins every game. That wouldn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter.
There's going to be a home team every game.
Oh, so maybe Philly could pull it out.
Yeah, or maybe Philly can't win.
My whole logic went out the window there.
Philly gets swept. They cannot win. It's out of Philadelphia.
They're on the road for every game.
Unless this somehow happens in Philadelphia instead of Disney World, then they win the championship because they just go 16-0.
So maybe the Magic will make the finals because they have home court advantage throughout the entire series. They look in the stands and they see Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse and Donald and Daisy. They're like, "We're at home, baby. We got this." Larry O'B. Okay, so no home court advantage. Oh, I'll still take the.
Similar to how the Mavs are a good team, they're just not in the same tier. They're not in that elite tier like the Clippers, that they just are not going to be a matchup. Don't you think the same for the Heat and the Bucks? Like, the Heat are a very good team. I just don't think they're in the same tier as a team like the Bucks.
Yeah, I could say that. I feel like Miami is a step closer to that than the Mavs are. Like, I feel like the Mavs might need an extra guy, but the Heat might just be like, and I know this is crazy, but like one Bradley Beal trade away from being right there with the Bucks, right? I don't know if the Mavs necessarily – I feel like the Mavs need a lot more. Like, they need more rotation players. I don't know if I trust like a Tim Hardaway Jr. in the playoffs. That's just me, but I get what you're saying too. I'm actually – for the exact same point that you said, that Chris, that there's no home court advantage, I'm doing it. I'm picking Miami in 7. Bam Adebayo is about to lock Giannis up. I mean, look, Bam's played great defense in both of the regular season games. Sure, regular season against Giannis. The shooters, like you mentioned, there's no home court advantage for the Bucks to fear the deer at. There's no fearing of any deer near there. And I'm gonna
Bambi.
go. Yeah, Bambi. Yeah, Bambi might be there. You're right. You got a mascot. Heat in 7. Right,
I'm glad one of us has guts. I'm a damn coward now. I'm ashamed. This pandemic has taken a toll on me. It's just I usually would just be like guns ablazing, just the Heat. Screw it. What do I have to lose at this point? Maybe this won't even happen. The season might not even play out anymore.
The Bucks had a historic season. You guys think the Heat are just gonna come in and that would be, honestly, after that, Giannis shouldn't even wait for 2021. He should just find a new team. Toronto.
That's more of a case, though. Like imagine going from Eastern Conference Finals to semis, and then what? You're gonna go first round exit next year? Come on.
Eric Bledsoe has to go back to Phoenix.
You know who also had a historic regular season?
Giannis should just tweet, "I don't want to be here." If they lose to the Heat, I want Giannis to just tweet out, "I don't want to be here."
You know who else had a historic regular season was the 73-win Golden State Warriors, and we all know how that played out.
Very true.
Yeah, but that at least waited until the finals.
You
have them losing in the second round.
They also they also didn't have to account for a three-month layover where they just didn't play any basketball for a bit, and now it's kind of like everyone's on even keel, even floor. But
what if Giannis's Euro step is rusty, man? What if you know?
Look, we're just trying to conjure up any reason for Giannis to come to Toronto.
I know.
That means picking Miami.
I was about to say that S is really just picked the series, so he hopes Giannis will leave after that. That's the only reason he picked him. It's fine.
Yeah. I also feel like Jimmy Butler Raptors conference final is a lot of fun. Like, I want to see that. But it's scary, but I want.
Look, the Bucks could win the championship, and he could still come to Toronto. I mean, that didn't exactly sway Kawhi Leonard to stick around for a little bit longer. So hey, everything's on the table. I'm playing out my fantasy here. You give me a top 5 player in the league, and then another one becomes available with ties to my team president. I'm gonna ride that pony until it's dead. I want the Greek Freak in Toronto.
Well, Giannis, if you're hearing this, man, if you're hearing this,
Giannis, if you're hearing this, I'd be very surprised.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter, Giannis, at Walder Sports.
So come on the podcast. Come on.
Yeah.
Just really
Okay.
quick before this series just also gives me a lot of vibes of the series last year the Bucks had with the Celtics. Like going in, everyone was like, "Oh, the Celtics, they're a tough matchup for the Bucks. You know, they could really, they give them a run for their money here. They were the 4th seed as well, and they won the first game, and then everything went to hell after that. Obviously, I don't think there's a player on the Heat that would give up like Kyrie Irving did on that series, but he that's not even a hot take. If you watch those games, especially at the end, he gave up. Yeah, it was bad.
He did. You're right. I don't think Jimmy Butler would do that to the Heat. Okay, so you guys all have Milwaukee going forward. I have Miami. I believe in the Heat. I don't know what their logo is. What's their motto? Is it believe in the Heat? What's?
Oh, I knew what it was.
Whiteout? Was it whiteout? No, that was old school, right? I know. I don't know.
If their slogan is whiteout, then Bucks in 4.
Is it not still whiteout? Is that not still a thing?
I thought it was whiteout, right?
I think so too.
I want to see.
That's lazy marketing.
It is lazy marketing. I know. They don't even do the white jerseys anymore.
Oh, it's #Heat culture.
What?
Oh, Bucks in 3 now.
Oh my god. I might have to change.
Yeah, Heat culture. Yeah.
Yeah, that's horrible. That's bad. That's really bad.
I just thought people were referencing that they were doing it ironically. I thought it was just like Heat culture.
Yeah, like Pat Riley, we do military work here.
Good God.
Boston, Toronto. That's the next series we got up, guys. So this is the big one. This is what everybody's been talking about.
I'm just here to hear Imman slander Boston for 5 minutes.
I'm good. I can mute myself for the next 5 minutes.
I'm just going to sit back and let her do her thing.
I thought about this in preparation for this pod where I genuinely was just like Raptors versus Celtics. I'm going to take the Raptors. Like, surprise, surprise. I'm a biased fan, and I'm going to pick the Raptors in 6. But the Celtics really do scare me. And the more I thought about it, I'm like, if Gordon Hayward is on, if Gordon Hayward is on, they have 4 players on their team that could very well average 20 points. Like, they can all get you 20 plus points a night. Yeah. They have the wing scorers. They've got, both of the Jays there. They've got Kemba, who has lit up the Raptors for a decade at this point. So they have the offensive firepower, I think, to really hurt the Raptors, where I picked the Raptors. And I'm not saying this as like a biased fan where I picked the Raptors as an objective observer of the game. I'm lying, but who cares? Is the Raptors can match up with the Celtics when the Celtics want to go small. The Raptors can go as small as the Celtics want. They can even put Siakam at the 5. They can go as small as the Celtics want, but the Celtics cannot go as big as the Raptors can go. And I think that that's going to be where the Raptors can sort of beat them, is the Raptors have matchup advantages because the Celtics just can't go big. What do you do if Ibaka and Gasol are both on the court? And you have Siakam at the 3 or something insane, which we saw Nick Nurse do in the playoffs last year. So I just think the Raptors are more versatile than the Celtics and can beat them that way.
Like, we could out-rebound the Celtics by like 50 if it's Gasol, Ibaka, and Siakam as a lineup.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, just to play devil's advocate there, like saying Boston can't necessarily match the size that Toronto has, you're not – like, your big man, Marc Gasol, in the middle, you're not going to be feeding him as much as you'd probably like to. Like, his days of putting up 20 points in a playoff game are far behind him. If you're trying to feed Pascal Siakam, then that's an entirely different story. But I don't think the size will necessarily favor Toronto in that regard. I think it will kind of be their downfall on the other end. It kind of gives me glimpses of that Sixers series where Fred VanVleet was rendered obsolete just because he couldn't match up with Philadelphia's guards. Like, when you're tasked with playing against a Ben Simmons, for example. Like,
also, shout out to Fred VanVleet Jr. Happy birthday. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, happy birthday to our Lord and Savior, Fred VanVleet, the second coming, Fred VanVleet Jr. Thank you for the championship, by the way.
Honestly, yes. I don't think that it's not that that I think Gasol's just going to be down in the middle there. Gasol that's not where he's going to be stationed at all. He's meant to space the floor. But you have Ibaka, who's consistently kind of hurt them because of his size and his like pick and pop ability. I think having when you have that size, it's like, okay, who guards Siakam, which I think is the question regardless of the lineup that you have out there. But also you have OG. I just think the Raptors' wings are going to be too big for them to really throw anyone on. I just think the Raptors' size on the wings, with Gasol spacing the floor, allowing for a guy like Norm or OG to really cut and get to the basket. I think the Raptors just have more ways to hurt the Celtics because they have the ability to play bigger guys.
Yeah, I totally see where you're coming from, and I agree with you in that regard. I'm also going to pick the Raptors. I think this is going to be probably the closest series that we're going to see of any matchup throughout the entire postseason, and I think the fan bases won't tolerate anything less than 7 games. Like if the Raptors were to beat Boston in 5 or 6, then Toronto is going to be slandering Boston for the rest of time.
Raptors
because that's how we're programmed. You know
my heart cannot take a Game 7. I don't know what you're trying to take that out of the universe, please.
No, I have a championship banner that my little brother got me for Christmas that's still at my place in Scarborough that I need to hang up. So if anything bad happens in the Toronto Raptors Boston Celtics series, I'm just going to wipe my tears with that bad boy, hang it up, and just watch footage of Toronto winning at Oracle Arena and hoisting the chip, because that's fine. You know what? Once you win a ring, your entire mindset changes about everything. Like you see a Game 7 the following year, you're like, what the screw this? This is no big deal. I just watched so much drama the last go around. Like I can take anything at this point, and that's probably where my head would be in the Celtics series. But I just know that the losing team, their fan base is going to be just wrecked on social media. So that's probably where most of my fun will come from. As far as basketball is concerned, yeah, this is going to be an awesome series back and forth. I think Kemba Walker and Kyle Lowry kind of cancel each other out. Like I said before, this is going to be like the welcome to the NBA kind of series for like Jason Tatum. Like you're going to start viewing him as a top 10 player in the association, and you put him against the champs and see what he's capable of. But I think, again, no home court advantage. That kind of sucks. That would have helped Toronto in a Game 7. But the champions advantage, I'm just going to give them that slight nod. But if Boston was to win, I wouldn't be surprised either.
I think I agree with both of everybody here. Really, I'll probably go. Wait, Brad, did you pick?
No, I haven't.
Okay, wait, go.
I'll let all the Raptors fans go first. It's fine.
Oh my God. Okay.
You let me go first with the Bucks. You guys can go ahead of me.
I'm also gonna go Raps in 7. I think, Chris, to your point, like the championship mentality is something that not only rubbed off on the fans, but I think it rubbed off on the players too, right? Like a tremendous amount. There's this confidence where they don't feel. I mean, anybody's nervous going into a Game 7, but they don't feel the nerves as much as they might have because they've gone through that with Philly. They've gone through a tough Game 6 with Milwaukee, and then the NBA Finals. They know what it takes now to win. I think that is what really puts the Raptors over the edge. So I'll go Raps in 7.
I really, really, really wanted to pick the Celtics. I really did. Not because I like the Celtics. I hate the Celtics as much as you guys do. But no, I and for the reasons you said, as the championship mentality, and I think I just like. I know there's so much hype around Brad Stevens as a coach, but Nick Nurse is just so much better of a coach to me, in my opinion, at least, than Brad Stevens is, and I think that really gives him the edge in that series. I think he'll scheme ways to limit Jason Tatum's offensive production and kind of force the ball over to Jaylen Brown, who did kill them in I think it was Christmas Day. He really well against you guys, right? He can't carry the load. I love Jaylen Brown, but he can't carry the load offensively. And I think if you were able to slow down Tatum and kind of force the production to everybody else, including Kemba Walker, I have the Raptors in 7, but I really, really wanted to pick the Celtics.
Jackie McMullen said that when she asked Jason Tatum who guards him the best in the league, he said it's not a player, it's a team, and it's the Raptors.
Yeah,
and I think the Raptors just have a lot of guys they can throw on the Celtics wings. I think it's scary how many different wings the Celtics can have and how many different points they can sort of attack you. They've got a lot of different scorers. The thing about Jason Tatum, this could be his coming out party, but he had a great stretch, and then he came back down to earth. We haven't really seen it consistently, so I don't know what to expect from him in this playoffs. I don't know that this will be a crowning playoffs for him. We'll have to see it first.
I just absolutely hate picturing this series in a neutral arena.
Yeah.
The Celtics crowds and the Raptors crowds would have been raucous. It would have been so much fun. Yeah. This is the worst time for this to happen, isn't it?
They got to figure out a way to, maybe fan noise. Like, I know with the NFL draft, they had a bunch of different Zoom the fan base. Maybe they could do that for the arena, but it would just be weird.
It's just going to be a giant screen in the stands with Amon and I on Skype and just being like, yeah, I'm Larry over everything.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is, though, I feel like this is a big series for Pascal because,
Yeah.
realistically, everybody is going to have that thing where like, oh, can he do it all by himself? Is he the number one option? Can he take a team far all by himself? Like, this is the series where he could potentially prove I can do this or I can't do this. And the whole Giannis in 2021 rumors make more sense. I don't know. Just another point to add that I think this is a big series for Pascal if it ends up actually happening.
And I don't think they have anyone who can guard him. You look up and down that roster, you're like, who is the guy that has...
I was about to say I like the wings that they can throw at them. I like that they can throw at Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum played really well defensively this year. Marcus Smart, he can guard many.
Marcus Smart is the one,
but he's an all defensive first team player. I think he can guard. I think he can guard at least 1 through 4. You can't slow him down, but it's another guy that they can throw at him. They have Daniel Tice to meet him at the rim. They have a lot of guys that can at least slow down Pascal Siakam.
Tice is the one I would worry about the most because he will bang. He'll get real physical.
Absolutely.
Like I think Marcus Smart is just too small to kind of give Siakam any problems. And Gordon Hayward, I mean, he's just an awful defender.
Hayward definitely not. No, but like it's Marcus Smart's a guy that can just add like kind of a Patrick Beverley. They can just agitate Pascal and get under his skin a little bit more.
They can put Marcus Smart on Kemba Walker's shoulders and they can like wear a trench coat
when you talk
the
about Daniel Tice then in the middle, I think the fact that the Raptors do have their 5s that can help stretch the floor, I think helps with that. The Celtics, I don't know. I think the Raptors win it in 6. I feel fairly confident. I've talked myself into this. Anything else would make me go crazy.
Okay, fair enough. I hate to break it. I feel like we're going to have a game 7, but we'll
What's happening?
You know what? Why don't we stick with the East because we're here anyways? We'll go with Milwaukee. I have my Miami. I'm gonna just put it out there right now. The Raptors are going to the NBA Finals again, guys. I'm just putting it out there. There's gonna be a second spot somewhere here for another championship banner potentially. We'll see. But the Raptors are going to the NBA Finals in my scenario. But in your scenario, Raps Bucks. Who are you guys picking? I'm not going to let the Bucks fan go first here. I'm going to let one of you guys go. You guys
let the majority take it.
Chris, take this.
My heart says Raptors, and my head and everything else in my body says the Milwaukee Bucks. I just think after what happened to them in last year's Eastern Conference Finals, them holding a 2-0 lead over the eventual NBA champions, they're just going to rewatch that footage over again and be like, this is how close we were. And their top guy that gave us the most problems isn't around anymore. I mean, you can slot like an OG Anunoby into that role. A guy, lest we forget, wasn't even around during that entire playoff run. Mm-hmm. Like, he's an elite defender in this league, even as young as he is. But he's not Kawhi Leonard. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to like just mix and match guys to throw at Giannis. Do the same scheme that provided you success last year. But again, Milwaukee is just going to be extremely motivated. They have their leaps and bounds during the regular season. They were heads and tails above everybody else. I don't think they're going to let this opportunity kind of pass them. And I think they know the significance of what this a potential series like this means. You're trying to convince Giannis to sign for the long term. And if you prove once again that you cannot get past Toronto, especially when a top 5 guy, a top 5 defender, and Kawhi Leonard isn't even there anymore, then you have a world of problems coming your way. So I think the Bucks are going to take it in 6. That's not a slight against the Raptors. I think getting to the Eastern Conference Finals at the start of the year would have been that's such a welcome ending for a campaign when a lot of people, the Sam Mitchells of the world and there was a lot of guys that Raptors Twitter would talk crap about because they said the Raptors weren't even going to make the playoffs. Getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, moving forward with your young core, I think that's a great sign for them. But I just think the Bucks are too much, and they have that chip on their shoulder where they're like, it's now or never. So Bucks in 6.
So you're saying like Bulls pre or after Jordan retirement #1 type of thing, where they get almost there but just not quite there type of thing.
They need that Kawhi Leonard type player to get over that hump once again without, obviously Kawhi no longer a part of the team. But again, I think Eastern Conference Finals, that's a great end to this season.
Come on, help me out here, man.
Raptors are making the finals.
Well, there you go.
I'm gonna pick the Raptors. I think they can, like you said, the Bucks should watch that game tape and it's gonna motivate them. But they should watch it and see that, they won game 1 because of an outlier performance from Brook Lopez, and they lost Malcolm Brogdon. I'm kidding. Like, of course, losing Kawhi is going to be really big, and it's going to be hard for the Raptors to overcome that. I'm still going to pick the Raptors in this scenario because my faith in Eric Bledsoe is less than my faith in. Never mind. I was about to give you guys a DeMar DeRozan slight, but I'm not going to do it. I don't trust Bledsoe, and I think Chris Middleton is he'll be all right. He'll have that one game like he had last year in the series. I think the Raptors are going to do it.
Okay. All right. Wait.
I have a lot of Bucks slander. I'm censoring myself because there is a Bucks fan on. I'm so
ready.
I'm a guest on a Bucks fan pod. I need to be nice. Otherwise, it's just straight Bucks slander.
I needed the Bucks slander. That's why.
It's just straight Bucks slander.
Yeah. Okay. We're running out of time here a little bit, so we'll take a break.
Come back.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Shoot Your Shot podcast. A lot of breaks here, which is abnormal for our podcast here, if you know it. But we'll dive right into the Eastern Conference Finals. I believe Bradshaw was about to take his pick. I think Chris said Milwaukee, which surprised me. Imman sticking with me here, saying Raptors. I said Raptors as well, but with a different series. Brad, what's your pick? Let's just get it over with here.
This shouldn't be a surprise. I'm picking Bucks. I'm going to take the Bucks in 6 as well. I just think a lot of what failed the Bucks last year, they've improved upon, and they've added pieces, or guys have improved to help fix some of that this year. Like not trusting Eric Bledsoe, and he's so crucial to what they do defensively, but able to dodge picks. And we talked about this on our last podcast with Brad, not me, but the other Brad. He's so valuable to that defense with how he can dodge picks and everything. And last year they didn't have a guy that they could trust, and that's why Bledsoe was out there so often. This year, Dante DiVincenzo has been so good for them, and he does a lot of the same things, not at the same level, but he does a lot of the same things that Bledsoe does. So it's another guy that they can trust to come out there. Marvin Williams is a huge pickup, another guy that can move his feet and be mobile on defense. Robin Lopez is basically a carbon copy of Brook Lopez defensively, just probably not as good as his twin brother, but a lot of the things that the Bucks have failed them last year, I think they've improved upon by adding guys like Wesley Matthews as well. So a guy like Chris Middleton doesn't have to guard the number one option on the opposing team every night. It's for me, I think they just improved on everything that failed them last year. So I think for me, it Bucks in 6, and I know it's probably a little biased, but I'm going Bucks in 6.
You're driving home the Bucks in 6 narrative, man.
Oh, absolutely. 2 series in a row. It's meant to be.
All right. Okay. So we know inevitably that was the result of it. Let's go to the Western Conference. Let's settle that. We had Lakers versus OKC. I personally, I love OKC. I love what they've done. We all talked about it, but I do think the Lakers are just a stronger team. Chris Paul will probably be able to will out maybe 1 or 2 games with the team, but I think I'm confident enough to say Lakers in 5 or 6.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. I see the Cinderella story ending for the OKC Thunder in that series against the Lakers.
I agree. Lakers in 6.
Yeah, I'm going Lakers in 5. I just think there's no answer for LeBron James and Anthony Davis from Oklahoma City's side. And again, I don't think they're going to face their real test until they get to the conference finals. So Lakers in 5. I give just Chris Paul and Gilgeous-Alexander a ton of credit. I give them 1 game.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so Lakers moving on with that one. Clippers and Nuggets. Fun series, or Houston if you guys said Houston. Clippers, what are you guys taking? Who are you guys picking for this one? I think I picked the Rockets because I think they would.
Wow.
The layoff would help them. Sorry, I picked the Rockets in the previous series.
Oh.
The layoff would help them. Oh God, I could not pick the Rockets in this series. I think the layoff helped them in the first round. I don't think it'll matter in the second round. I think they'll run out of steam. The Clippers in. I'll go 6. Okay.
I'm going to give you a shock pick because it was kind of an upset just picking Houston in the first place. This is the worst possible matchup for them this early on in the playoffs. I think, Houston's ability to go small ball the Clippers can match up with them easily. You know, if you're going to have Montrezl Harrell at the 5, even like you can go real small, like put Marcus Morris at the 5 as well. You got JaMychal Green or Kawhi. Like there's just so many options for them to kind of just go toe to toe with Houston in that point. And then if you really wanted to, just like, you know, put Kawhi or Paul George on a James Harden, just kind of remove him from the equation, but or put him on Russell Westbrook. Isolate one of those guys, make somebody else on Houston beat you, and when it comes down to that, they just can't match up. So I'm going to say the Clippers in 4, clean sweep.
Wow. Okay. Nice.
I completely forgot that that they got a Morris twin.
Yep.
I picked Denver, I guess, in the last series. It's Clippers. Like, whoever they face, I'm going to take the Clippers. I think that they're just a notch above the rest of the West, outside of the Lakers. And I'll say 5.
Yeah. I agree with Imman here. I go 5 as well. I think the Clippers, whether it was Houston or Denver, I actually don't remember picking. But I'm going to go with the Clippers as well. So we got Battle of LA, not in LA. And then we have Milwaukee, Toronto. Some people said Milwaukee. Some people said Toronto. So for the Battle of LA, which is what everybody in the NBA from like October, no, actually not even October, since July has been talking about. What's your pick? Who is going to the NBA Finals between the Lakers and the Clippers in this one?
I personally said the Clippers before the start of the season. I don't like to backtrack off my picks, although I remember on Twitter I said that it was going to be the Clippers and the Sixers, and that Sixers pick blew up in my face real quick because they were struggling and they did not look like a championship contender for most of the season. But I'm going to stick with the Clippers here. I just think, you know, when we did see the Clippers and the Lakers square off during the regular season, just the success that the Clippers were able to have, I don't know how much of it was, you know, especially that first game that they played. We don't know exactly, you know, that's not the LeBron James we're going to be seeing in this Battle of Los Angeles. That's not in LA, unfortunately, which really sucks. But I'm going to I think the Clippers are just extremely deep. So are the Lakers. I'm not trying to slight their depth by any stretch, but I like what the Clippers have, that they can throw at LeBron James. This is going to be a huge series for Anthony Davis because I don't see anyone on the Clippers posing much of a threat to him. This guy can go for 30 and 20, you know, on any given night and really hurt the Clippers interior D. But again, I've used the term coin flip many times during this podcast. This is a definite coin flip, you know, but this is the matchup that we've all been dying to see. I think the winner at the end of the day is going to be basketball fans. Whoever emerges from this is definitely going to earn it, but I'm sticking with my guns. I'm going Clippers.
I'm going to go with the Clippers as well. I think once I eventually changed my pick from the Utah Jazz, I ended up going with the Clippers as the next team. Obviously, I love LeBron and I love what the Lakers have done this season, especially LeBron's 17th year. And but I for all the points you mentioned, Chris, I like the Clippers roster a lot more than I like what the Lakers can do. And you mentioned Anthony Davis. If he's forced into being the guy to step up. And S and I have talked about this before. Neither of us really trust him to like bully a matchup if he has the advantage. You just don't see that very often. I don't know what. Maybe he changes that in the playoffs, but throughout the regular season, he was never really the guy to like bully a matchup, like consistently throughout a game to take over the way he should have. And I think that's kind of going to be their downfall. Unless he can do that, I think that's their downfall. And I have the Clippers. I have the Clippers in 7.
In 7?
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, this is kind of a head versus heart. I think my head is saying Clippers. Clippers just have a better team, all-around team than the Lakers have. But I would love to see LeBron James make another finals. I'd love to see him win. I think it being in a neutral site also benefits the Clippers because potential 7 games in Los Angeles would just be Laker fans. So I think they get a benefit of actually having a neutral site here. I don't want a Ballmer team to win after hurt feelings, but you know what? I'm gonna go with my heart. I'm gonna say Lakers do it, and I'm gonna put it in 7.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
LeBron James cements himself as the best player in the world again.
Woo! I like it. I think for me here, if you think about the Raptors fans, like realistically, if we say Raptors make it to the finals, it's kind of a win-win. You either face the guy who just left you in Kawhi Leonard, or you face the guy who's been tormenting you for 5 years in LeBron James. So it's a win-win for whichever one of them as a Raptors fan, but who I'm picking to actually win the series, I gotta say it's probably the Lakers. I think LeBron James will just prove he's the better player. I love Kawhi Leonard to death. Like Chris said before, I appreciate what he did for the city. I will never forget it. He's going to be like this mythical creature when I tell my kids like 50 years from now. But I just think that LeBron has this other mentality about this season specifically, because I do think he thinks it's one of his best chances. Like he doesn't know what's going to happen next year or even the year after that if AD leaves, whatever we decide, right? I think it's going to be Lakers in 7. That's the pick here. And now we're to the NBA Finals, right?
Well, I did say that the Bucks were going to make the NBA Finals, so I'm just going to stick with that matchup, Bucks versus the Clippers. I think when you're going through the conference, like the first round, second round conference finals, I think talent alone can get you over that hump and get you to the finals. But when you're going up against the best that the West has to offer, a conference that a lot of people peg as significantly better, although I disagree with that front. You look at the top 6 teams in the Eastern Conference, they're as good as anybody in the Western Conference as far as I'm concerned. But at the same time, I'm matching up in my head like the Bucks roster and the Clippers roster, and I'm going with the side that has like the more fighters on their team, more pit bulls, because I think that those are the kind of teams that I resonate with, and that's why I've always been a Kyle Lowry fan, ready to like kind of like leave it out all on the floor. You have Giannis Antetokounmpo, arguably the best player in the world right now, but the Clippers I just think are just loaded with guys that are just going to give him just such a world of hurt out there. I've listed off guys throughout this entire podcast: Montrezl Harrell, Marcus Morris, the 2 studs, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, Patrick Beverley. I think this is going to cement what Imman said with LeBron James, kind of putting him back at the forefront, saying he's the best player in the world. I think this entire playoff run, if it does come to fruition, which I hope it does, is going to cement Kawhi Leonard as the best basketball player on the planet. He's going to win 3 finals MVPs with 3 different teams, 2 back-to-back, and I'm going to take the Clippers over the Bucks in 6 games.
That's quite the accomplishment for Kawhi, man. That's crazy. Just to even think about it. Like he'd be arguably in the top 10 players all time if you add that into his resume.
You could certainly make an argument for it. I would lean more towards like top 15. I think he's a top 25 player right now, but if he wins another finals MVP, especially for 2 teams like the Raptors and the Clippers that have been historically bad for the most part of their runs, to win them both championships and be the finals MVP, you can't argue like that kind of resume for a guy like Kawhi Leonard.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Who else wants to do their finals pick?
I guess
I'll nervous.
I'll finish off the other Bucks Clippers series.
Oh yeah, we split even. We're Bucks versus Clippers, and then Raptors versus Lakers.
Yeah.
I'll finish off the Bucks Clippers. I think this is my first head versus heart matchup where, like, in my heart, obviously my heart, I would want the Bucks to win the series, but the Clippers, to me, like I think I said it as at the beginning of the season, like this team looks like the best team in the NBA on paper. And like in practice, when they're healthy, like, even when they're not fully healthy, this is probably the best team in the NBA, just with pure talent. And I think I would have to go with the Clippers in a very, very close 7-game series, and it would break my heart at the end of it. But I'm going to go Clippers in 7.
Okay.
I think whatever team comes out west, whether it's the Clippers or the Lakers, will be the champions. I think the champion will come from one of those Los Angeles teams. Since I picked the Lakers to come out, I think that they beat the Raptors in the finals there.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you here, Imman. I think it's kind of like a full circle type of thing, right? You know, LeBron torments them through, 3-4 series in a row. They can't get over the hump. He leaves. They finally get their chance. They accomplish it. And then he comes back just to finish it. It's kind of it's heartbreaking to talk about as a Raptors fan, but I think it's such a perfect storyline that
it's poetic.
It's poetic. It is poetic. Yeah, like what Leonardo DiCaprio said in Last Dance. That stuff you did, man, poetic.
That's essentially it. It would be very fitting because I think it would mean that no non-LeBron James team will have beaten the Raptors in the playoffs since the Wizards sweep in 2015. It would, if it got to what we're saying, no non-LeBron team has taken the Raptors out since 2015, which would be amazing.
Yeah.
You need one of the GOATs to topple us here in Canada.
Yeah.
John Wall's best NBA accomplishment right there.
Sweeping
Being the one non-LeBron team to beat the Raptors.
No, I think okay. So we're in agreement.
You got a banner, hang that up.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only banner the Wizards will hang up for the next 20 years. To be honest, let's be real.
Got two banners. Michael Jordan played for us, and we were the last non-LeBron team to beat the Raptors.
All right, so on one side, Imman and I, Lakers. Chris, Brad, you guys pick Clippers. I mean, I think both are very, very fair choices. It's just a matter of what happens. And realistically, if I'm being honest, after an hour and a half of talking about this, we actually have no idea what's going to happen with any of this. Like, it's all up in the air, specifically because of the season and what's happened with, Disney World potentially being a thing, the 3-month stoppage. Guys are at the couches eating Doritos and playing COD. Like, we have no idea what kind of shape the guys are going to come back in. We don't know what kind of mentality some of the guys are going to have. We don't know if there's going to be a breakout and the entire thing cancels again. There's just so much uncertainty. Any last words, anything you guys want to plug before we kind of head out?
Again, just follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Walder Sports. I got my podcast that I'm really putting the wheels in motion for. It's called the Walder Sportscast. Subscribe to me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, wherever you find your podcast downloads. And thank you so much for having me. You guys it was a lot of fun talking with all of you, getting my basketball fix. Imman, I've been a follower of yours for years, so it was great to finally get to chat with you. Bradshaw S, you guys are gems. Thank you so much. And let's get basketball back soon so we can do more of this.
For sure. Thanks, Chris.
Please.
Imman, if you want.
I want to just reiterate everything that Chris said. I've been a follower of yours for many years. But no, this was a lot of fun. It was fun thinking about basketball again. Because for the longest time, it just hasn't been that. And basketball is a good escape for a lot of people. So just having something fun to talk about, focusing more so on a Celtics matchup than what's happening in the world is kind of nice. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, for sure.
And also check out Dishes and Dimes. We actually have some really cool ideas for some podcasts that we want to put out before basketball gets back, just to get everyone up to speed and talk about some fun off-season topics. So, yeah.
Cool.
Great.
I'm a big fan of both the podcasts and big fan of both of you guys. Like you guys said, you guys have been following each other for a while. I've been following you guys for a fairly long time as well. So thank you to both of you guys for coming on. It's been a pleasure. Appreciate it. Hopefully, the next time we talk, basketball is back. As always, guys, make sure to follow us at the Shoot Your Shot Pod and both of our specific Instagrams and Twitters at Just Ask Barahini and at Oh My God Bradshaw or OMG Bradshaw.
OMG, come on.
And you can find the Shoot Your Shot podcast on all platforms, anywhere you can get your podcasts. Have a good one, guys. Take care.
Bye.